of student participation in agriculture activities in schools, and the free-day secondary school program in Beta Sub-County before and after the introduction of the free-day secondary school program. Now, the second hypothesis is there is no statistically significant effect on the relationship between student access to agriculture, teaching and learning resources, and their participation in agriculture subject in secondary schools in Beta Sub-County before and after the introduction of the free-day secondary school program. Now, the program was introduced in our country in the year 2008. So we are examining that, and then 5 years after, then we do the comparison. We have a conceptual framework giving the grammatical representation of how the variables interrelate with each other. We have the independent variable, a variable that does not depend on any other, and that is the free-day secondary school program. So we can only talk about the release of that fund and then the mode of release. Now, the dependent variables, we have enrollment in agriculture before 2003 to 2007, and then after, that is 2008 and to 2012. We also have access to agriculture instructional materials, and we have taken one teaching learning resource to act as a representative of the other teaching learning materials, and that is the agriculture textbooks. Now, we also have participation in agricultural activities, and that is the membership in the Young Farmers Clubs, the exhibitions, the agricultural shows, and other projects that the students undertake in the school. Now, when those variables interact, we also had certain intervening variables in between, and that is the existing school administrative rules and policies, government policies on enrollment and access, and also the relationship between the school and the community where the school is located. Next. Now, during the study, we have employed a cross-sectional survey design because it will effectively assess the current state of the situation. Now, cross-sectional survey will also help us to gather data from different groups of individuals at one single point in time, and then it will also help us as the researchers to observe variables without any interference. Now, we have also chosen the cross-sectional surveys because it is really, really cost-effective. It doesn't eat so much into our pockets. Now, this cross-sectional survey also guarantees systematic, representative, and reliable information. Next. Now, we have the population study. We have used 106 respondents. How did we arrive at that? We had 4 quality assurance and standard officers because we had 4 of them in sub-county, 51 schools, each having 1 principal and 1 teacher of agriculture. If you total that, it brings us to 106. We only did our survey in public secondary schools that were existed before the program was implemented in the year 2008. Next. The procedure, we use a number of multi-stage sampling procedures, and where we use both the probability and non-probability sampling methods. Now, the first stage involved selecting Beta Sub-County, and then the second one, choosing the public schools and leaving out the private schools. And then third, we had stratified sampling, where we categorize schools into boys, girls, and mixed schools, and again, considering even their populations. And then we had random, simple random samplings that gave us the 51 schools. Next. Now we use two instruments, and that is face-to-face interview, and we also use the questionnaire. The face-to-face interviews, we interviewed the 4 quality assurance and standard officers, and then questionnaires we gave the principals and the teachers of agriculture. Now, the instruments were validated to ensure that it was timely, effectively measured the relevant concepts that we wanted to find out. The instruments were very reliable, and we evaluated them using the Cronbach coefficient alpha, and we found it was more than the 0.5, that is, it was more than the 95%. So that really made it very, very reliable. The alpha, we got it, it was above 0.8. Next. The results, here they are. We could see that there was an increase in the enrollment and the availability of the instructional materials. And that can be seen from that data, 16, 25, 36, and finally 44, indicating that actually the free-day secondary school program has enabled more access to instructional agricultural materials and therefore more participation and even more enrollment. Next. Continuing with the result and discussions, all this one is because we can say now after 208, we are now in 209, 68, 2010, 83, the number is on the upward trend, indicating, and we are really now disqualifying the null hypothesis. We have really disqualified the null hypothesis from the results we have there. Next. Again, still the same. The 51 schools, and the same thing now. Thank you. Still talking about the same. Next. 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 Good. Now, we can now conclude that the participation in agriculture activities at public secondary school is contingent upon the available funding. Funding would go along in availing the teaching learning resources. Students would participate in the clubs and the young farmers clubs, and also in the agriculture products in the school. Next. In conclusion, we can conclude that the program has greatly enhanced the access to agriculture instructional materials, and also it has made affordable the education in secondary schools. And so the subsidy provided by this program has really transformed access and participation in agriculture. Next. We recommend from our findings that if the government can, then the subsidy should be increased to give room for more participation and even access. We realize that bigger schools had more participation than the smaller schools just because of the availability of teaching learning resources that the government was subsidizing, because it was coming against the child. So the more you have in a school, the more you get. The less you have, the lesser you get. Next. Thank you. That is the end.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome questions. If there are questions for the presenter. Looks like it was a near perfect presentation. Could we give him a round of applause? Thank you very much, George, for that wonderful presentation. We have our online presenters, and we are going to begin alternating. So we want to invite Mercy Gatwiri. Mercy Gatwiri is going to make her presentation, and then we'll follow with Millicent, and then we'll go back to the virtual. So we'll be alternating. Mercy, can you hear us? Just a minute, just a minute. Before you go, I want just to make sure the sound is okay. We can hear her. Mercy, are you able to hear us? Hello, Mercy. Mercy, can you hear me? Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, we want to welcome you. We'll give you 15 minutes. Good afternoon. You can proceed. We can hear you. Yes, you proceed for 15 minutes.
productivity and customer satisfaction. Additionally, clustering of schools in Kenya into county schools, sub-county schools, extra-county schools, and national schools, and variation in financing and staffing levels as well as physical infrastructure have influenced academic performance to some extent. Problem statement and research gap. Performance of public secondary schools is important because it informs stakeholders of the magnitude of success or failure in achievement of specific education goals. Previous studies revealed that public high schools, especially in rural areas, performed poorly in Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, in spite of the government's investment in free secondary education policy and educational reforms. It is worth noting that poor performance not only impacts on students' transition rates to higher institutions of learning, but also infringes on their entitlement to quality education. The case has not been different in Meru County because in the year 2019 and 2020, performance declined notably. Prior studies, which were undertaken in individual sub-counties, that is Tigania West and Tigania Imenti North sub-counties, were not comprehensive, and therefore they were not representative and could not be generalized because they were only done in each sub-county. Scholars did not demonstrate the association of strategy implementation in regard to resource allocation with both academic and non-academic performance. Most previous research focused on business organizations and not education, and therefore there is limited scholarly work which examines the effect of resource allocation and performance of public secondary schools, thus leaving a gap which this study sought to address. The research objective was to determine the influence of resource allocation on performance of public secondary schools in Meru County, and the hypothesis was resource allocation has no significant influence of performance of public secondary schools in Meru County, Kenya. Then we find that the research methods this study employed, the descriptive survey and decoration research designs. And the descriptive survey comprised of mixed research design, which is a combination of qualitative and quantitative designs. These two designs were used because they compensate the shortcomings of each method and increase the validity of the results. The sample size comprised of 199 respondents who are obtained from a target population of 395 principals from the 395 schools in Meru County, and 9 sub-county directors of education who are from the former 9 sub-counties in Meru County. The reason why the 9 former sub-counties is because the newly created counties did not have records of the previous performance. The study units were selected using the multi-stage sampling, which is a probability sampling technique, and it encompasses the use of cluster sampling and also simple random sampling. Also, this multi-stage sampling technique was used to select the study units or the principals from the various schools, which from each of the school category, where we have the county, sub-county, national, and the extra-county. Whereas the purposive sampling technique was used to select the sub-county directors, who are the key informants in this study. Primary data was collected using questionnaires and interview schedules, where the questionnaires were given to the principals, while the interview schedules were for the sub-county directors. The questionnaires comprised of closed-ended questions on a 5-point Likert scale, while the interview schedules comprised of open-ended items. The data collection tools were tested in the Rakamidi count using a 10% of the sample size. The study adhered to ethical considerations by ensuring that there was anonymity of the respondents, privacy, there was confidentiality, and voluntary participation, and also proper citation and referencing of various sources which informed the research study. Quantitative and qualitative data analysis were done using SPSS version 26 influence of the study variables, the findings and the discussion. Respondents answered several statements based on the indicators of resource allocation, and the descriptive findings from the principles indicated a high score of 3.68, which is 23.76%, showing that resource allocations role improving performance of public secondary schools in Meru County. Results were analyzed, and we find that additionally we have from the results, the principals agreed that finance resource allocation, human resource allocation, physical resources, and also the instructional resources enhanced performance. But finance allocation had the highest impact on performance, whereas the instructional resources had the least impact. The subcounty directors of education statistics also confirmed that resource allocation impacted on strategy implementation and performance. Further, they also pointed out that finances, human resources, physical infrastructure, time, capital, and instructional resources were identified as essential in strategy implementation and enhancing education performance. Correlation between dependent and the independent variables was measured, and the Pearson correlation results indicated a strong positive relationship between resource allocation and performance of public secondary schools, where we had the R value being 0.671, that was the coefficient, and then this implied that suggested that an improvement in resource allocation tended to increase school performance. The p-value also confirmed that correlation between the variables was statistically significant. Based on the diagnostic test, linear regression analysis was done and was done to test the hypothesis. The regression analysis was done through summary of regression, ANOVA model validity, and also linear regression coefficient. The linear regression model showed that 42% showed a substantial positive correlation of 0.6048 between resource allocation and performance, and where 42%, this meant that 42% of the variance in performance could be explained by resource allocation, emphasizing its importance in educational outcomes. Ordinary least squares regression examined the direct influence of the resource allocation of performance, while the moderated multiple regression assessed the moderation effect of the leadership on the relationship. According to ANOVA, resource allocation was a key determinant of performance in public secondary schools. And we had an F value, where the F value of 0.86, where we had the F value and the P values showing or confirming that the model was fit in explaining the role of resource allocation in enhancing performance in public secondary schools or in secondary school education. Regression analysis findings showed that resource allocation had a significant and positive effect on performance of public secondary schools. The p-value of less than 0.05 confirmed that the effect of resource allocation was statistically significant in predicting school performance. Based on these results of hypothesis test, the null hypothesis that resource allocation has no significant influence on performance of public secondary schools in Meru County was rejected. This implied that resource allocation significantly influenced public secondary school performance in Meru County. In conclusion, the study concluded that efficient and effective resource allocation significantly impacted on educational outcomes in public secondary schools in Meru County. However, adequacy of financial, human, physical, and instructional resource allocations was a challenge that needed to be addressed to enhance public secondary schools' academic and non-academic performance. The study recommended that public secondary schools should conduct regular resource needs and assessments in order to address critical issues of resource allocation in order to improve secondary schools' performance. Additionally, financial management frameworks should be established to ensure timely disbursement of funds and adequate distribution of physical and instructional resources. Theoretically, the study did not only extend the empirical knowledge, but also added a model that shows the association between resource allocation, leadership, and performance of public secondary schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mercy, for the presentation. Okay, we would like now to go to question and answer.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mercy. I think you are getting me well.
Yes.
Yes, take me back to your title. I would want to start from your title.
Pardon?
I would want to start from your title, the influence of resource allocation on performance of public secondary school. To start with, my question now comes. Thank you. I think now you're getting me. Is it okay? Mercy, are you getting me now? Yes, Mercy, are you getting me now? Okay, thank you very much. I would want to start from the title, as I've said, that the influence of resource allocation on the performance of public secondary school. In this context of the title, influence of resource allocation must be, it is independent variables. Can you can you showcase the indicators on that? And thereafter, based on the indicators that you're going to show to us, I'd want to see on how you have derived to the objective on that, and thereafter on how you have also do a sampling, how you have chosen your method of sampling, because in your results and discussion, there's another question on your results and discussion that you have given us there on the findings. It is more of theory, when you are discussing and giving out the results, you are dealing with people that some of them are social scientists, But when you check your results and discussion, it was more of mathematics, more of the word, You'd want you to at least give us something that is so precious, mostly in the pie charts, in the linear graphics, so that you can see on how those 0.49, those figures are coming in, so that at least we will not be ambiguous. It will become a little bit clear to the viewers like us, so that we may not disturb you with very many questions. Thank you very much.
You clearly, but from what I've heard, the question that you have asked me is that you want them to know about the variables that are used. The resource allocation we had was the independent variable, where the constructs were human resource, financial, physical, and instructional. Then also there was the moderating variable, which was leadership. And then we had also the performance of public secondary schools, where the indicators were the ratio of resources, where we talk about the student-teacher ratio. We also look at the ratio of the physical resources, and also we are looking at the school mean score, the quality KCSE grades that were scored in the schools, and their work in the curricula. So the study looked at both the academic and the non-academic performance in schools.
Yes, I'm asking in the last question is that have you at least have narrations with the linear regression? I think this is what is really giving us also headache. I've talked about that there's more of theory in your explanation, that we need to at least see a concrete diagram, like let's say in pie charts or in a linear graph that is giving out the figures that we are showing. Because after giving out the figure, you'd want to see a narration also in a drawing that indicate how the linear graph has reached, so that somebody can just see and show that what you have given out really speaks for itself. That is also my concern on that. Do you have them in your full paper?
Thank you very much, Mercy, for your presentation, and receive rounds of applause from us, and pass our greetings to people in Methodist University. Thank you very much. We'll go to the next presenter, who is Millicent.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Millicent Awino Ochola. In the presentation, it's Ochol. A student of PhD, Rongo University. My supervisors are Dr. Abila James and Professor Oluoch John. Just go back to the... Okay, so my presentation is an ongoing study for my doctoral studies. And the topic is countering misinformation to enable adaptive pedagogy. I'm going to present a proposed communication-based model for CBC implementation in Kenya. We know that CBC has been changed to CBE, but the literature that I have was still talking about CBC. Go to the next. So to my introduction, adaptive pedagogy has emerged as a critical approach for developing responsive, inclusive, and competency-based learning environments. What's going on? So I will continue. I was presenting on a topic, countering misinformation to enable adaptive pedagogy, and presenting to you a communication-based model for CBC implementation in Kenya. The introduction of my presentation, adaptive pedagogy has emerged as a critical approach for developing responsive, inclusive, and competence-based learning environments. And this environment has been hampered by widespread misinformation, which is a growing global challenge across all sectors, including education. So since its inception, CBC has faced public resistance and confusion. For instance, in 2023, parents voiced concerns about unclear teacher roles, high costs, and CBC alleged experimental nature. Most of the parents were not seeing any future of CBC. So, as a result, we find that in some areas, parents even withdrew their children from CBC classes, grade 7 in 2023, so that they can sit for the last KCPE paper examination to escape CBC because they did not have any faith. And why they did this is because they were not understanding what is going on about CBC. So this paper explores a theory-informed communication model to debunk misinformation. And this particular model will link adaptive pedagogy with accurate public understanding and communication of policies and reforms even in the future. The next slide. So the problem statement, misinformation, which is the spread of false information without any intention to harm, has distorted CBC perceptions among key stakeholders, parents, teachers, even education officer. This falsehood is being propagated through social media and informal network, and they amplify these unverified narratives about CBC. As I said earlier, in 2023, some parents withdrew their children from going on with the CBC curriculum so that they can sit for the last KCPE paper. And this has been confirmed through most underage students that are currently in secondary school. They skipped grade 7 to do KCPE. And there was presidential working paper on education reform in 2023, which also noted that CBC has faced significant challenges due to communication breakdown, inadequate stakeholder engagement, and media distortions. The report, however, stopped short of proposing a structured intervention to address misinformation. And while other countries, as we'll see later, in the developed world, have been able to successfully debunk misinformation in various sectors, including education, here in Kenya, we do not have structured theory-based models that exist to counter misinformation in education reform. And we know that adaptive pedagogy cannot thrive in an environment that is clouded by misinformation. The next slide. So the aim of this study is to develop and test a communication-based model for deconstructing misinformation around CBC to support adaptive pedagogy in Kenya. The research questions that are guiding the study is what misinformation narratives dominate the CBC discourse in Kenya, how misinformation spread and influence public perception of CBC, and what theory-informed model can effectively deconstruct this misinformation, and how effective is the model in building stakeholder trust and support for CBC. This model is based in theory, communication theory, and the central theory that is informing this model is affordance theory by Gibson, 1977, which posits that media environment enables or constrains the spread of misinformation. The media, especially the social media, with its features like virability, shareability, or anonymity, makes it very possible for falsehood to spread without any debunking. Then this central theory is going to be backed with other theories in communication, like the framing. Framing theory is going to enable us to see how CBC is portrayed. Because the portrayal of CBC, for example, we can find in the media it is portrayed as elitist or burdensome or expensive. How does that shape the public meaning and how they accept CBC? Then agenda setting is also informing this model by looking at how media, what aspects of CBC does the media prioritizes that makes misinformation to spread. Then this model is also going to use crisis communication theory, which is structured and timely messaging that can build credibility. And lastly, we are also going to rely on media literacy theory, where stakeholders must be empowered to reject and detect falsehood. This model has been inspired by success stories in other countries which have had issues with misinformation on educational reform. For instance, in the UK, the relationship and sex education reform was faced by media backlash from moralists and religious leaders who spreaded the rumors that the reform is introducing LGBTQ into classrooms. They were able to debunk this particular misinformation through community forums and teacher guides that was applied to the schools. Then in the US, we also had the Common Core Standards educational reform that was supposed to make the states to have the same standard of education in the US. It faced a lot of myths, a lot of media misinformation, where people were saying that they are going to outlaw classical literature and the history of various minorities in the US. They were able to debunk these myths through school outreach and media, and through the media programs that were mounted. Then in India also we had the National Educational Policy of 2020, which also faced media backlash. They were saying that the Indian government wants to introduce or to impose a language called Sanskrit on the people through that national educational policy. But they were able to debunk the myths through the use of multilingual materials and public forums. And in Finland gives us a very good example on how misinformation is debunked, because they have included the media literacy studies within their curriculum, so that with them, their learners are able to learn on how to detect and debunk falsehood through their learning. Our CBC in the Kenyan context, since it was introduced, has faced a lot of resistance. They're alleging there are high cost, they lack teacher preparedness, misconception on foreign imposition, and of course the example that I gave, that some parents were able to withdraw learners from CBC. Next. So the proposed deconstruction model has 4 components, and these components, they include the workshops and training for teachers and parents to identify and counter myths surrounding misinformation, community dialogues, social media campaigns through infographics, video questions and answers, and myth-busting posts, and monitoring and feedback through surveys and content analysis that will be done post-intervention. The next. So that is the table that is showing the model that I'm proposing for countering CBC misinformation. The next. So methodology, the study will have a mixed method, qualitative, quantitative, and content analysis. Location will be Rongo sub-county, participants, parents, teachers, education officers, tools, surveys, interviews, social media, content analysis. And then we'll have evaluation, pre and post-intervention surveys, and focus groups. How is this model relevant to adaptive pedagogy? Adaptive pedagogy requires teachers, parents, and learners to understand and trust the goals of curriculum change. And we find that misinformation undermines that trust and leads to disengagement, skepticism, and policy resistance. The model that I'm proposing will allow stakeholders to make informed choices and enable pedagogical flexibility in real classrooms. Teachers will feel supported, parents will feel informed, and learners will benefit from an environment ready for competency-based education. This model also aligns with Sustainable Development Goal number 4 and Kenyan's Vision 2030, both which call for inclusive, equitable, and skill-based education. Expected contribution of the model, theoretical contribution. It's going to extend affordance theory into education reform and misinformation studies within Africa. Such models do not exist in literature as at now. Policy contribution, it will respond to gaps identified by the national CBC evaluations, like the Presidential Working Party on Education Reform of 2023. Practical contribution, the model is going to offer the schools, counties, and Ministry of Education agencies to adopt for stakeholder engagements and CBC uptake. Policy reform depends on communication as much as it does on pedagogy. Kenya's CBC rollout offers a clear case of how misinformation can derail adaptive pedagogy and why communication theory must be part of reform design. This paper outlines a model that leverages on digital affordances to reform success and promote trust based on adaptive education system for all. Thank you.
Invite us, those with questions. Hapa nyuma naona mmenyamaza sana. Sindio? Any questions?
Thank you, Millicent, for your good presentation. In fact, I love it because it depends itself. That's got the theories that support your message. That is a very good one. What is not very much clear on my side is to research methodology that you have used. You have applied a mixed method of where you have used the qualitative and the quantitative, the two of them. You know, always when you are analyzing your objectives, that drives you to saying that now I'm going to use the qualitative based on this. I would just want to know that among your objectives that you have around 4, which objective at least guide you to at least drive to qualitative or quantitative, or you just or one objective had the two of them together, and kindly that's what I would want to know on that.
Okay, I will answer that. All the objectives are supported by the methods that I'm going to use. I said I'm using qualitative, quantitative. Objective number 1, which is going to identify the misinformation narratives that are spreading about CBC. I'm going to do that through content analysis of WhatsApp group, X, and Facebook group accounts that are talking about education. And I'm going to use content analysis, and that is qualitative. That is what I'm going to do. Then when I want to explore the perceptions that parents have developed as a result of this misinformation, I'm going to use quantitative surveys to explore their attitudes and perceptions. Then later on, the two methods will be triangulated so that I can get my model.
Thank you, Millicent, for your presentation. I only have one concern because when you started, I was not in. I want you to help me know your sampling techniques that you are going to use to sample the teachers and parents.
Okay, the sampling techniques is not part of this presentation, but I'm going to use, first of all, the sample that I'm going to do first is to do random sampling of the primary schools. Nowadays they're called comprehensive schools because they include both primary and junior secondary schools. There are 102 in Rongo sub-county. And then out of that, I will sample 30% of those schools, which will give me around 30 schools. From the schools, then I'm going to do my sampling for teachers and parents through non-probability sampling, especially purposive and convenient sampling. For teachers, purposive, because these teachers must be teaching CBC classes, and they must also be active in social media, so purposive. For parents, it will be convenient sampling because I'll be going for those parents who are actively participating in school activity through WhatsApp groups. So that is how I'll do my sampling.
Thank you very much. Let us appreciate Millicent. We are now turning to our virtual presenters from now on, and the first one is Evanet. I don't know if she can hear us. Evanet, can you hear us? We are turning to the online audience presenters, and Evanet will be followed by Peter Odhiambo, and then McDonald Odhiambo, in that order. We are giving you 15 minutes to present, and then 5 minutes for questions or comments. And I think we welcome you.
you very much. I hope you can hear me. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. I'm Evanet Adiambo Oroke, a master's student of Rongo University, and my topic is contribution of visual support strategies in enhancing expressive language skills of learners with hearing impairment, a study done in Migori County, Kenya. In line with the sub-theme, adaptive pedagogy in contemporary education system. Visual support strategy involves adapting teaching methods and tools to meet mostly the specific learning needs of learners with HI. And this is essential in modernizing and tailoring pedagogy. And adaptive pedagogy is instructional approaches that are flexible. They are also learner-centered to diverse needs of these students, especially those students with unique challenges such as learners with hearing impairment. Learners with hearing impairment often face significant challenges in developing their expressive language skills due to limited auditory input that they have, and this makes it difficult for them to effectively have their thoughts, their needs met or even understood, as well as their emotions. They are not effectively understood due to this limited auditory input. And learners with hearing impairment as well are visual by nature, and materials that are consistent with their learning styles are highly beneficial to them. Therefore, there is need for adaptable teaching strategies, and with these, visual support strategies help more so in utilizing images, symbols, and gestures. Several studies have been done worldwide, globally. For example, in Turkey, a study done by Durinci and Tarikoban in 2023 showed that visual support strategies outperformed sign language that is mostly used by these learners or taught to these learners to learn as their mode of speech. And in Kenya, visual support strategies are used inconsistently due to limited training and resources. That is according to Mange et al. 2023. And Migori County, where the study was done, is just like most areas that are resource constrained, therefore requiring tailored and low-cost solutions towards visual support strategies. The study was grounded in Albert Bandura's social learning theory, which emphasizes the importance of observation, imitation, and modeling in learning. And Albert Bandura's social learning theory highlights the critical role of visual stimuli in learning. And learners with HI rely on images, symbols, gestures, and essential tools for their comprehension, their imitation, and even in their expressive language development. And through visual support strategies, learners are served as environmental stimuli supporting their visual learning. The study used a descriptive survey design to summarize and describe data. Participants were 131, including 73 learners, 42 teachers, 7 heads of institutions, and 5 educational assessment and resource center officers. The instruments that were used in the study included questionnaires that were given to the teachers, interview guides that were given to the heads of institutions and educational assessment and resource officers and resource center officers, and observation checklists that were done on the learners. The study also employed convergent mixed method, that is including both quantitative and qualitative analysis to triangulate data. And data, qualitative data was manually transcribed, and a high reliability of 0.849 was also realized, showing that the data instruments were good for the study. The study findings, the key finding of the study. Before I go to the key findings, I'll look at the quantitative and the qualitative findings separately. With a mean of 4.70, that is the first item that was video clips as the first item of visual support strategy, had a mean of 4.70, and a standard deviation, sorry, that wasn't shown, of 0.568, showing that most respondents strongly agree that visual support strategies influenced or enhanced expressive language skills of learners with hearing impairment. Then pictorials showed a mean of 4.27 and a standard deviation of 0.435 and a standard deviation of 0.576, showing that most respondents strongly as well agree that visual support strategies enhanced the expressive language skills of learners with hearing impairment. Then a Pearson correlation was also used to examine the relationship between the two, the independent and the dependent variables, that is the visual support strategies and expressive language skills. And a correlation coefficient, as shown, of 0.528 and a p-value of 0.012 was realized, showing a moderate, strong, positive correlation, and the result was considered statistically significant. And with this, it was realized that visual support strategies are more than the teaching aids that the teachers might be using in a day-to-day classroom. And they are very much essential communication tools. And most teachers, through the questionnaires and the interview guides that were used on the heads of institutions and the EACs, that is the Educational Assessment and Resource Center officers, they agreed that visual support enhanced comprehension, helped in engagement, and also enhanced motivation of learners with hearing impairment. And teachers reported an increased participation using such items of visual support strategies. They as well align with learners' visual strength and promote meaningful expression, as well as they support existing literature and fill local research gaps that are there in Migori County. In conclusion, visual support strategies significantly enhance expressive language skills in learners with hearing impairment, and they should be systematically implemented in both inclusive and special needs classrooms. This was realized due to moderate yet statistically significant correlation that was gotten between the visual support and the expressive language development, as shown earlier, with an R of 0.528 and a P of 0.012. This affirmed the value of incorporating the visual tools in special needs education and even in inclusive classrooms. Therefore, integrating these visual supports into the instructional designs is much essential to promote inclusivity, effective learning for learners with hearing impairment, and therefore, the government, through the Ministry of Education, should upscale the training of teachers in visual pedagogy to develop cultural relevant visual aids. And also, visual support strategies, apart from systematic implementation in inclusive and special needs classrooms, the visual support strategies and the similar tools should be incorporated to offer great potential, especially in areas with limited resources like Migori County and other counties. Therefore, the government should train teachers, as said earlier, in visual pedagogy, develop culturally relevant visual aids, prioritize funding for digital tools and visual materials that are aren't enough in our institutions, and also expand local research to cover broader language aspects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evanit, for that good presentation. We'll take a few questions, if they're there. I'll ask you one. Apart from the training of teachers, what do you think are the resource requirements for the VSS to be successful?
Yes, I have one question that I want to put across to you. Yes, we have talked of, I'm just coming back to the research methodology. I think this is where I need some clarification. You have talked of data collection tools called the instruments. You have talked about the questionnaires. You have talked about the interviews. Then you have talked about observation checklist. Yes, from the presenter, I would want just to know that now you have the three techniques of data, of what helps you to collect the data from the respondents. In this scenario, where now we have the three tools, based on your indicators from the conceptual framework and the objectives that drives you to this, that enable you now to say that I'm going to collect the data based on the three instruments. Can you at least verify or help us know which objectives or indicators from the objectives that enable you at least to have this questionnaire? Because when you have the three instruments of data collection tools, at times it brings some confusion. At least we should know which one drives you to this, and even the respondents, because you have given us the number of people that at least helps you to collect the data. So we'd want to know if there is, kindly, which one for the observations, because you have divided the number of respondents according to the questions that you obtain from the objectives. Yes.
Sorry, I did not get you clearly, please.
Evelyn, did you get the first question?
Are you asking the number of respondents that I used?
Yes, my question is, you have talked of the 3 data collection tools: questionnaires, interviews, and observation checklist. I just want to refer you back to your objectives. That what are the indicators that enable you that now you could say that this one was for a questionnaire, interviews, observation checklist, and then in that scenario, who are the respondents? Who are the respondents that, at least because in your research methodologies, at least there is a way on how you have sampled your people, that you have said these are the people of this kind, these are the people of this kind that will answer this. So when you go to the field, when you are in the field, at least you could also have that kind of framework that the questionnaires I'll give these people, the interviews I'll give these people, observation I'll give these people, and I will observation you personally now doing it at the grassroots. So I would want just to know how you manage to use the 3 tools of data collection, and how efficient was it?
Thank you very much. I used the questionnaires on teachers because I wanted to gather some information, as standard information from the teachers, and I also wanted to compare across what experiences teachers had in their classrooms as they handle learners with hearing impairment. And I used interviews on heads of institutions and educational assessment resource persons because I wanted an in-depth information regarding tools, or rather resources that are available within schools, because the heads of institutions are the providers of such resources, and the educational assessment and resource persons are those who check on how the teachers handle these learners with hearing impairments. Then I used observation checklists on these learners with hearing impairment because I wanted actually to see the specific actions and also to observe in their settings how these learners react when they are being taught using the visual support strategies, or rather visual support strategy tools. And as I mentioned earlier, teachers were 73, learners were 73, teachers were 42, heads of institutions were 7, and YAC officers were 5. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for that presentation. Could we give a round of applause? We'll go to the next presenter, who is virtual, Peter Odhiambo. Is there a question online?
Okay. I have, I think, 2 or 3 questions.
Yes, go ahead.
The first being that you settled on the hearing impaired pupils or learners. So I wish to know why you settled on the HIs but not the others, like visually impaired and the rest. Then number two, you were talking about the research design, but while still talking about it, you ran into telling us that the design will be used to summarize data and to analyze data and so on. So that did not bring clearly the design. The design is not used to analyze data. The specific statistical tools or methods can be used. Of course, that is how it is. So I simply want you maybe to clarify on the design. I didn't get the clarification on it. Then the third one, I don't know, your results indicated from your presentation, you are talking of moderate, strong, positive correlation. I don't know if correlation can be moderate and strong at the same time. I know it can be positive or negative, while at the same time, strong or weak or moderate. But it can't be moderate and strong at the same time. So you may clarify that, or maybe if not right, the colleague researchers can still clarify. We are here to share and learn. Thank you.
Thank you very much. To begin with, why I settled on learners with hearing impairment, it's because learners with hearing impairment, apart from being my area of specialization, they have unique communication needs that really need to be fulfilled, or rather filled. Then they are visual learners. Therefore, visual support is highly relevant to them. Then also there is educational gaps. There are gaps because in most cases they are misunderstood in inclusive settings, and we find that they are put in special institutions. So apart from those three, there is also special needs education objectives that these learners should be given what they require most. That's why the study was much on learners with hearing impairment. Then, with the correlation coefficient value of correlation coefficient of 0.528, that's a moderately positive correlation. It's positive and it's moderate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Evanet. I think we want to thank you for your presentation. We'll move to the next presenter, who is Peter. Peter, are you there? Dr. Ngonga, Peter?
If I can be heard, allow me to proceed. We can hear you. Yes, so my name is Peter Odhiambo Ongana. I'm a lecturer at Alupe University. Yes, so I'm a lecturer at Alupe University, and I'm happy to be here. So we did a study. We are two, myself and there's a co-researcher that I'm going to present for the both of us. So the title of this study was Increasing Agriculture Students' Interest in Post-Secondary School Agriculture, Adoption of a Non-Conventional Instructional Approach. So let's have some background on this. So agriculture is placed critically in the secondary school curriculum. It also plays a key role in the economic development of the various nations, including Kenya. So about 75% of workers get their income partly or fully from agriculture, would be formally or informally. Therefore, it gives out most of the human capital required for the growth of agri-based industries. So these well-mentioned groups of workers, of course, come from the secondary schools where foundational agriculture is taught as a subject. Then these students of agriculture create a pool of agricultural human capital, well versed with knowledge, skills, and labor readiness for the growing economy like ours. However, the low number of learners in the subject, coupled with the dwindling performance in the national exams, impedes the building of a strong human resource base in agriculture, and this has made it necessary for schools to come up with better ways of ensuring that we have as many agriculture students taking agriculture. So we need the learners to view this subject positively, both as a career and as a practice. Now, one of the teaching approaches that can be used to boost the learners' interest and participation in agriculture is through experiential learning, specifically using the supervised agricultural experience program as a key part. The experiential learning is the main fabric of agricultural education instruction because through practice and experience, we'll put into use what is learned in class, to solve real life problems. Therefore, the material learned will become easily comprehensible and applicable in real life. So Lugos 2017 has pointed out that experience supersedes theory because it is the only true experience that any theory has got vital and verifiable use. Further, Dale used a second model to explain the interrelationships among various learning experiences to abstractness of directness. He classified the doing experiences as direct experiences, contrived experiences, and dramatic participation, and indicated that those experiences were the foundations of all education. Now, the supervised agricultural experience program model is considered as a component of the experiential learning described there above. So the problem here is that agriculture is central to our economy in terms of development. Therefore, the need for more young people taking it up. But when you look at the learners' enrollment in the secondary school agriculture, in the KCSE agriculture, and of course the uptake in post-secondary institutions, there is a reducing trend in that. We have very few out-of-school students who will be able to take up further studies in agriculture. Therefore, it is central, hence, that Kenya, as a country, urgently changes how agriculture is taught in schools, of course, to improve the interest of learners in the subject. So these challenges may be attributed to the inadequate knowledge, of course, the skills acquisition related to the way we teach agriculture in school. So it is on that premise that this study was done to find out if there is a difference in the level of interest in studying agriculture post-secondary school, comparing two groups of learners, those exposed to this program and those not exposed to it. So the purpose, therefore, was to enhance interest in agriculture through non-conventional teaching methods, that is the SAEP. We had two objectives. One, to determine the level of interest in studying agriculture for secondary school among students, and 2, to compare the level of interest in studying agriculture for secondary school between the 2 groups of students, one exposed to SIPE and the other one the control group not exposed. So from that we derived the 2 question and the hypothesis, which I will not in. So the methodology, this study applied pre-test, post-test control group design, targeting 3,600 secondary school agriculture students in Form 3. So we chose Form 3 because it is at Form 3 that you can make reference to a group of learners to be agriculture students because they have made the choice of subjects. So below that, they have not made the decision whether to settle in agriculture or other areas. So we used a simple random sampling and proportionate stratified sampling to get 384 respondents, applying the Cochrane's formula. So they were then equally assigned to treatment and control groups, after which the treatment group took part in the supervised agricultural experience program. We used a questionnaire and a learning outcome test to collect data. Then the descriptive and inferential statistics were used to report and analyze data. So the results showed that on the level of interest to study agriculture after secondary school, and the interest in pursuit of agriculture, further studies in agriculture, was moderate in the 2 categories before taking part in the program. So data was collected before exposure to the program from the 2 groups, and the results showed that the interest was moderate, but it increased in the experimental group to high, from moderate to high, while in the control group it remained the same. From the hypothesis, the test results showed a positive change in interest in taking up further studies in agriculture within the experimental group compared to the control group, which showed a decline in the mean. It was from, they showed a mean of 0.65 with a standard deviation of 0.02. The other one, the control group showed a mean of a decrease in mean of 0.01. The negative means a decrease. The positive one means an increase. So this therefore showed that students not actively involved in the learning program will have their interest to pursue agriculture after school decline with the time. ANOVA was also done, and the results on group means showed that 8 schools taking part in the SIPE had a significant difference with a p-value of 0.012, and this was in contrast to those in the control group, which showed no statistically significant difference, a p-value of 0.182. Then a paired t-test was conducted to show a significant change in the group means for the interest to pursue agriculture after school by comparing the pre-test, the pre-SIPE and the post-SIPE means. And this gave a statistically significant increase in the experimental group and a little, hence very insignificant change in the control group. Now to find out if the means in the interest to take up further studies were different between the 2 groups, an independent sample t-test result showed that the pre-SIPE means were not statistically different, whereas the post-SIPE group mean differences were statistically significant, 0.001. So the difference seen in the group means was therefore entirely as the impact was entirely the impact of SIPE. In conclusion, the level of interest in studying agriculture post-secondary school is moderate without any intervention among students of agriculture. However, students taught through SIPE had higher interest in pursuing agriculture post-secondary school. Hence, the program positively influenced their interest in the same. So we recommend that in order to ensure that students appreciate the importance of agriculture and the agricultural careers, schools should ensure that conventional methods, non-conventional methods like SIPE are incorporated into agriculture instruction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Odhiambo, for that presentation.
Moderator.
Hello?
Hello? Yes.
You can hear me?
Can you hear me? I can.
Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. I want to give it for questions, maybe just 2 questions. If there is a question. Yes, there's one here.
Thank you, Mr. Odhiambo. Based on your topic, increasing agriculture student, I think that is the major, your aim is to at least allow the student to have more interest in agriculture. Yeah, so in this case, I would just want to know, did you achieve the aim of the study? Did you achieve the aim? In another way that I'm asking, did your outcome of the study resonate with why you went to the field and collected data? Thank you.
The aim of the study was achieved. Remember, the aim is to see if this program can increase the interest in the post-secondary agriculture. So we have seen that from my results, the data that was collected before the program was introduced from the 2 groups, they had a moderate interest in agriculture post-secondary. But after the program, in which only the experimental group participated, we have seen that the interest within the experimental group was high, while for the control group it was moderate, and to some extent it reduced, though insignificantly. So I can report that the aim was achieved.
Thank you very much. Is there another question? Then let us applaud Dr. for his presentation. And we want to thank you so much and pass our greetings to people of Alupe. I think we've come to the end of today's session. Time is much spent. I want to invite the chair, if he has some communication he can give. And then we'll have the closing prayer and we'll resume tomorrow. So those who have not presented, we'll start with you tomorrow in the morning. Once again, I apologize. Karibu Chair.
Good evening. I'm very happy to have you up to this particular moment. I know there are other groups that are maybe still in session. I've send information for them to join us. Simply because we have come to the end and we want to, I know some members came here very early and we don't want to overstretch. And it is also good to, there are things we skipped in the morning, which are very important. We didn't have one-on-one introduction. And it is good to know where participants have come from, which institutions they represent. Because apart from sharing ideas, we are also here to network. You never know what tomorrow has for you. So I will urge all of us to be a bit patient just for a few minutes so that we get that brief introduction for those ones who are there. And then I make some important announcements. Do you have another mic? Or it's only one? I hope other members are joining us. I just want to briefly say your name and the institution that you come from. I think it will be just a name and the institution you come from, and then we shall, from there, we will. I will now make the announcements. Just your name and where you, the institution you represent. You can start.
My name is.
Yeah, you are audible.
My name is Benedict Okum, student from University.
Thank you, Benedict.
My name is Mary Nzisamwenze, student at Rongo University.
Thank you.
My name is Pamela Okongo, employee of Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Victor Ngaira from Calro.
Calro, which part of Calro? We have so many Calros.
I'm Victor Ngaira from Calro, Naivasha.
Naivasha. Thank you.
Dr. Mehdi Gilbert from Gretsa University, Thika.
Thank you. Gilbert from Gretsa University, Thika.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Calvin Ouko, postgraduate student at Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm MacDonald Odhiambo, a postgraduate student at Rongo University.
Thank you, MacDonald.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Agnes Okirigiti, Rongo University.
Thank you, Agnes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Judy Ratem, employee, Rongo University.
Thank you, Judy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Hisa Daniel, a master student from KU.
From KU. Thank you, Daniel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mary Gabriel, student at Rongo University.
Thank you, Mary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Calvin Kitaka, postgraduate student, Rongo University.
Thank you, Calvin.
Nakitare Joel, a member of organizing committee.
Thank you, Nakitare Joel.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kalen Onyancha, postgraduate student, Rongo University.
Thank you, Kalen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kandia David, postgraduate student, Mount Kenya University.
Mount Kenya University. Thank you.
Auma Dolphin, student, Rongo University.
Thank you, Dolphin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Victoria Miheso, a student at Rongo University.
Thank you, Victoria.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Jeffney Nyongesa, undergraduate student from Rongo University.
Thank you, Jeffney.
How is everyone?
Fine.
My name is Yune Kambani, undergraduate student from University.
Thank you, Kambani.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Oyo Owere, postgraduate student from University.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Auri Lena, third-year student in Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is Albert Chuma, final year student at Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Francis Mose, final year, Rongo University, the sound tech today.
Thank you.
Evening.
Good evening.
I'm Pascal Ekesa, staff, Rongo University, student, St. Paul's University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Roy Obiero.
a staff, Rongo University, and a postgraduate student also in Rongo University.
Thank you, Roy. The others who have joined us, just say your name and where you come from.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Anne Odhiambo, student, Rongo University.
Thank you, Anne.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Juma Elisha. I'm also a student, postgraduate student, Rongo University.
Thank you, Juma. If you have not greeted, you can just raise your hand. The mic to reach you.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tony Blair, graduate last year, 2024. I've not registered yet. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Eric Juma Kashara, part-time at Rongo University, PhD student, Communication Studies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have not greeted us, you can just greet and say your name and where you come from. I think you are almost done.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Olga Millicent Awur, master student, the Department of Communication and Journalism Studies.
Rongo University? Yes, Rongo University.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Abel Mulongo, a master student in Rongo University.
Thank you, Abel. In front here, and then in front here.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is William Wainaina, undergraduate student at Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Henry Kwanzala, student at Rongo University.
Thank you. These are our technicians.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Marin Akongo, lecturer, Department of Communication, Media and Journalism, and a member of the conference organizing committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Marin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Irene Sang, a member of the organizing committee and a staff from Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Millicent Ochola, a student of PhD, Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jacob Borage, Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Navole Nachieng, final year student from Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Omondi Odero, a member of faculty in the School of Arts, Social Sciences and Business, Department of Languages, Linguistics and Literature, and also a member of the conference organizing committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Angela Hosea, a student at Rongo University.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mercy Atiang, undergraduate student, Rongo University.
Thank you, Mercy. And yourself?
Okay, I'm Tony Kiul, Rongo University.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for staying up to this time. We know in the morning we were all full here. Some have left a bit early because of maybe fatigue and so forth, and we look forward for another day tomorrow. We had over 84 presentations that have registered with us, and today was a very busy day with a tight schedule. I know few of us have presented, but tomorrow we shall have a lot of presentations. I therefore would like to release you early so that by tomorrow you come early for the presentation. We shall only have one keynote speaker tomorrow, and then we get into the presentations. So don't miss that. We know we are represented in this conference by over 10 universities. I think there are around 15 universities who are going to give presentations. I thank Great Mount Kenya, KU, who are still here up to this particular moment. I know others maybe could have walked out a bit, but tomorrow is another day. We shall have virtual and physical meetings. And tomorrow, as much as we shall have many presentations, it will be marathon, and therefore we shall want to keep time and race with time, because in the afternoon we shall have an excursion. We are going to Thimlich Oinga. Those ones who know it. It's a good place, a better place that you don't intend to miss. Don't miss going there. For those who are planning to leave today, kindly postpone that for tomorrow, because in the afternoon we shall go there. So it means we shall try to work hard so that we have our presentations on time to pave way for the excursion. For those who have come from far, we don't want you to go back without knowing how Rongo is. And that's why we want to show you a few of these particular corners that we have in this particular region. Apart from that, I would like to also thank Cooperative Bank, Rongo branch, for supporting this particular conference. They are one of our partners. Though they are not here today, I want to believe they will join us tomorrow. So we want to thank them for supporting our conference. The success of this conference is because of you as participants and other sponsors who have worked with us. And for those ones who are going to town, we have a bus that will take you to town. It will drop you at Oilibia, and in the morning, the bus will again leave Oilibia at 7:45. So if you come from town, if you are spending in town, kindly go to Oilibia in the morning at around 7:30, board the bus, and the bus will bring you to the university. After that, we shall go for excursion, and the same bus will take us back to Rongo town, where we shall now move to our different destinations. I'm yet to get statistics of how many presentations we have had today, but I know we are going to get that information. I would like to encourage all the presenters that as you present, as you share your ideas or your thoughts, kindly take note of the comments that are being given to you. Work on those comments and prepare your paper so that we can be able to publish. In Rongo University, we have our journal known as IJORU, International Research Journal of Rongo University, which is an index journal. It's a registered journal. And we are going to request all presenters to give us their corrected copy of the manuscripts, because after presenting, you have gotten some comments, which you have worked on them. You need to work on them. We shall only give you 1 week to submit your manuscript. After you have submitted the manuscript in that 1 week, review will be done within the next week. And you will get comments in the second week. After that, if you will have made the comments, the revision from the reviewers, your paper will be published in the third week. That's what we are going to do. Right? Yeah. So kindly, when you are getting these comments, get them, note them down, work on the paper. So that after that, we shall review, we shall get a team of reviewers. Even in areas that we have few of the experts, we shall advertise to get the best reviewers. And we shall do that particular. So this committee, this organizing committee has planned for that. In the next 3 weeks, some people are asking, when will you publish? When will you publish? If we do that, in the next 3 weeks, your paper will be published. Of course, we shall do thorough review. We shall have reviewers locked up in a given place to work just on the papers. And you'll get it. And that's what I wanted to share with you, so that when you go to rest tonight, this evening, know that this committee is working tirelessly to ensure that you get a scientific paper, a peer-reviewed paper that is published in a good journal. So be one of them, that your paper will be published. And I know that's what we all want. Otherwise, at this particular moment, we are going for tea. I want to believe tea is ready. We can go and take our tea. After tea, the bus will be waiting for us to take us to town. Unless somebody has